Welcome to Ham Radio and More, the program that specializes in amateur radio in the Valley and around the world. Whether you're already a ham or have always wanted to be one, you'll find out about interesting events and issues regarding amateur radio. Your host is Len Winkler, KB7LPW. To get in touch with Len, call 241-1510. That's 241-1510. Now here's the host of Ham Radio and More, Len Winkler.
CQ, Arizona. Welcome to Ham Radio and More. This is Len Winkler, KB7LPW, and today's show will be extremely interesting and very informative. The show is sponsored by One Stop Communications, Wallpaper World, and Antennas West. I have two guests in the studio today. The first one is Tony Rogozinski, N7BG, President of the Central Arizona DX Association, and Frank Smith, AA7FM, Vice President of the West Valley Amateur Radio Club and Secretary of the Central Arizona DX Association. Welcome to the show, Tony and Frank.
Good afternoon, Len.
Thank you, Len.
Our phone number is 241-1510. 241-1510 if you have any questions to ask of the guests, or if you have any QSTs or announcements that you'd like to have put over the radio, call us now again at 241-1510 and we'll be happy to air them. Also, for you out there in DX land, we have an 800 number, 293-KFNN, 1-800-293-KFNN, 5366, and we'll pay for the call. Again, any announcements we'll be happy to put through. Okay, if you have any announcements, like I said, okay, call. Our KB7LPW KFNN QSL cards are being made right now, so send me any QSL cards with a self-addressed stamped envelope that you might have to Len Winkler, KFNN, 4800 North Central, Phoenix, 85012, 4800 North Central, Phoenix, 85012, and we'll get you a KB7LPW KFNN QSL card. That'd be kind of interesting. I appreciate all the cards and letters that I've received during the last 2 weeks, and of course we want more. If you have any suggestions or any comments, they're all appreciated. And I want to thank Merrill Stiles, W7HT, for his letter from Tucson, Arizona. It's nice to see that the show is getting out to Tucson. We must have had great propagation that day. Now for some QSTs. May 19th, the public service events, we need still some people to sign up at the Bud Light Triathlon at Australia and the Phoenix Youth at Risk at the South Mountain Climb. You can call Charlotte at 952-9596 or Dennis at 979-6715 if you want to help out. They still need a few volunteers. Ray, WA8OKE, is looking for some General Motors former and present ham radio operators to call him at 985-6060. This is a General Motors ham radio club, and there's over 900 members worldwide in this General Motors ham radio club. You don't need to be working there now. You can be a retiree, and by all means, give Ray a call, 985-6060. I want to discuss again House of Representative Bill H.R. 73. It's a very, very important bill about keeping our frequencies. The Amateur Radio Spectrum Act of 1991 was introduced in the U.S. House of Representatives. Again, it's H.R. 73, and it needs about 200 co-sponsors. There's not that many yet, and we absolutely urge you to write to your congressman. And you should write to John Rhodes, and I have his address. It's 326 Cannon House Office Building, 326 Cannon House Office Building, Washington, D.C., 20515. It's very important because, as you know, they keep taking away, the FCC keeps taking away some of our frequencies, and more, we need this bill to prevent that from happening. Also, you should write your senator and ask him or her to sponsor a companion bill in the U.S. Senate. If one is introduced and it passes the Senate while H.R. 73 passes the House, then a Senate House conference would iron out the differences, and of course the final version would be sent to the President. Senator John McCain would be a good person at 151 North Centennial Way in Mesa. 85201 to also contact. Again, HR 73 needs your support. By all means, send them a letter. Larry Cook, WB7CRK, who was a guest on the show last week, didn't have time to mention some reading material that he thought some of you might be interested in, especially those of you who are not hams. The book is titled 200 Meters and Down by Clinton D. DeSoto. Has some very interesting insights in the early history of radio. The May meeting of the West Valley Amateur Radio Club will be held tomorrow, May 6th at 7:15 p.m. at the St. Clement Social Hall at 15800 Del Webb Boulevard in Sun City. The guest will be Jim Siebert, the Sun City Fire Chief, and he'll explain the intricacies of the 911 system for dialing emergencies. So I'd like to see everybody show up there. May 30th at 7:30 p.m. is at the United Way Building is the next ARA meeting. May 21st at 7:30 p.m. at the Four Peaks Elementary School is the next Superstition Amateur Radio Club meeting. May 9th at 7:30 p.m. at the Red Cross Building is the next Arizona Amateur Radio Club meeting. So there's lots of meetings. Everybody is encouraged to go to the club nearest you or take a ride and visit. I did. I went to the Superstition Radio Club meeting breakfast Saturday. It was very enjoyable, and I've gone to a couple CADXA events, and they were certainly exciting. The next Scottsdale meeting will be June 5th, and the next CADXA DX meeting will be the first Thursday in June. Remember, July 26th, 27th, and 28th is the Fort Tuttle Ham Fest in Flagstaff. And again, you can call Hal Mann, WA7HXZ, at 963-6830 for more information. Remember, June 22nd and 23rd is Field Day. We'll have more on that later. There is a Friday night local ham net here on 10 meters, 28.385 on Friday nights on upper sideband. It's just a local rag chew. And next Sunday there will be a packet class. There was one today from 12 to 1:45, and there will be one again next week that will focus on how to use a BBS. And again, anybody who did not go today can go next week, and they'll go through some of the beginner packet information. And that's sponsored by the Arizona Amateur Radio Club, and it will be at 1510 East Flower in the American Red Cross building. If you want more information, call Barney, KB7KOE, at 861-2817. A few more real quick announcements that I thought of interest. The Maryland Mobilers Amateur Radio Club will operate call WA3PJQ at 1400 to 2100 Zulu on May 18th in the submarine USS Torsk to honor the submarine service. It'll be on 7240, 14240, 21340, and 28340 kilohertz. For a certificate for framing, send log details plus legal size self-addressed stamped envelope to MMARC at P.O. Box 935, Server in Maryland 21144. And finally, to all your DXers out there, which is what we're going to concentrate a little bit on the show today about, do not submit cards for the Seal Island or Penguin Island operations for DXCC, as they are not currently DXCC countries, and the cards will be returned. Okay, now let me tell you about Wallpaper World. Wallpaper World has 6 locations in the valley. They make their own mini blinds, their own vertical blinds, their own pleated shades, their own custom wood shutters. It's all manufactured locally and installed in your homes, free of charge. If you mention ham radio and more when you go to a Wallpaper World store, this week they will give you an additional 10% off on any custom wood blind, any custom duet blind, or all of their chic window treatment products. An extra 10% off, just mention ham radio and more. Again, they have 6 locations in the Valley: Mesa, Chandler, Scottsdale, Paradise Valley, Central Phoenix, and that's 5 or 6. Anyway, they do have 6. And you can get the address of the location nearest you by calling 678-1234, 678-1234. Again, Wallpaper World also carries over 700 wallpaper books in each of their stores, 600 or 700 patterns in each of their stores, which you can take home with you, and they will never be undersold. They absolutely have the lowest prices on wallpaper, and there's no question about it. Just check them out. Again, if you want more information, call 678-1234, mention ham radio and more, and save 10% off woods, duets, and sheet blinds this week. Now, let's talk to Frank Smith. I know you've been waiting for a long time. Now, tell me about the West Valley Amateur Radio Club, of which you're the vice president.
Well, thank you, Len. I've been a member of this club for just a few years, and I note that the history of this club is now 30 years long. It's a long, old club in the Valley. It has grown from 7 members to its current roster of 322 members. This group began in October of 1961 with just 7 members, and at that time they were known as the Sun City Amateur Radio Club. And the group got together at each other's homes every month, and later 5 more members joined, etc., and throughout the years it's grown quite nicely.
How many members do they have now?
Currently 322 and growing.
Okay.
And in 1965, the group changed its name from the Sun City Amateur Radio Club to the Youngtown Sun City ARC. Obviously, they had recruited some members out of the Youngtown area. And the group began to have meetings at the Youngtown First Federal Savings branch in Moran Center. I don't know if they even retain that same name at the bank. At any rate, 1987, the group again changed its name to its current title of the the West Valley Amateur Radio Club, obviously reflecting the fact that we have members from throughout the West Valley and even beyond. Just west of Central Avenue isn't the only range there for membership.
You don't have to live in the West Valley to be a member.
No, and I'm sure that you don't have to live in Sun City to be a member, Sun City West. But basically, the group has been very active in a lot of different areas. The one that perhaps is best known, if I were to editorialize somewhat, would be the emergency services. That's coordinated by Bill Johnson, W9WFW, and various sub-coordinators that represent geographical zones throughout our area here. And these are the guys who get on the air, HF and 2-meter, UHF, and they're out there working the road races. They get involved in simulating emergency disaster drills, such as at the hospitals. They're involved in telephone outages. The Palo Verde siren test is one that they do very frequently. And they get very active at times of foreign and domestic disasters, such as the hurricanes and the earthquakes. A lot of publicity came to the direction of our club at the time of the San Francisco earthquake, and several hundreds of contacts were shunted back and forth from the San Francisco area to relatives here in Maricopa County. And even more recent than that, the Persian Gulf crisis, many of the club members readied themselves to participate in an international relay that was set up at 4U1 UN, United Nations, to the Persian Gulf to deliver health and welfare messages to people in Israel. And it turned out that the services were not utilized as history more or less had it. The group maintains, by the way, 2 2-meter repeaters, 145.290, which sports an auto patch. Another frequency out at Boswell Hospital, 147.300. And now the group last November voted to purchase for a sum of about $4,300 a 3rd repeater, which will be a UHF repeater. Also, there is an area of activity in this club that was the first of its kind ever in the United States, and that was that in just last year, 1990, the West Valley Amateur Radio Club became the very first club in the United States to enter into an agreement with the Federal Communications Commission to work firsthand in dealing with RFI TVI problems within the area. And a lot of times, complainants to the FCC are referred directly to this particular club. that group is Tom Watts, NY7S, and George Hans, KE7DH. And these are the guys who go out to people's homes who have all kinds of TBI complaints, etc. And they do a darn good job. I'll have to guarantee on that. The club publishes a monthly newsletter called The Short Skip, edited by Ray Sumner, NW7R. It's a very popular newsletter. You see it for distribution at HRO.
It's very well written.
I agree, very well written. And what else could be said? I would comment, well, I should add too that Wednesday nights we have at 7 p.m. a very active 2-meter net on 145.290. That's one of our club repeaters. And as a relative newcomer to the club, I'd like to mention to those who are not members of the West Valley Amateur Club that this group, the majority of this group, members are from the retiree sector in Sun City, West Sun City. And I think this is one of the strongest areas that we could talk about here, because here we have hams from throughout the United States who've chosen to come to Arizona to retire in Sun City West, and they come with an incredible degree of experience and a wealth of information and all kinds of things that can be passed on to the newcomer, not just to the club, but to the newcomer in general in the area of ham radio. There's a lot to be learned from the old-timers out there, if we can use a common expression. And this is a club also who was involved a few years ago in formally petitioning the city of Glendale to amend the zoning ordinance of that town to accommodate HF towers and structures of that kind. As it turned out, the city was very gracious in accepting this idea and gave us a unanimous vote of approval. So that, in a nutshell, are the activities of the West Valley Club. I would give one phone number.
That's what I was just going to ask.
And that would be our club president, Bill Kosanovich. His call is WA8KFC 972-7741. Again, 972-7741. And Bill can, of course, answer further questions about the club, and in particular any membership inquiries that might come up at this time. And the club has an address, a post office box 1573 in Sun City, zip code 85372-1573. So there you have it on the West Valley Amateur Radio Club.
Well, that should sum it up. That was pretty good. Thank you, Frank. If anybody wants more information, please call that number. And if anybody has any questions, again, give us a call at 241-1510 or 1-800-293-KFNN. I want to give you another number, and that's 228-2336, 228-2336 to save money. That's Ken Nichols' phone number. And Ken Nichols, again, is the fleet manager at Linda Brock Auto Mall located in Scottsdale. The phone number again, 228-2336. When you're ready to purchase your next car or truck, don't hesitate to call Ken Nichols. We had some hams here last week that have purchased cars from Ken, and one of them said on the air, actually, that there's no question about it, he saved at least $2,000 from buying from Ken. And he checked out the price at a competitor, and it was $2,000 more than the deal he got from Ken. There's no question about it. Ken can get anything that Linda could, of course, tell you a car that Linda Brock carries, which are BMWs, Volkswagens, Oldsmobiles, Jeep Eagle, and I believe I read somewhere that they now have a Dodge dealership, if I'm not mistaken, that they've taken over recently. I hope I'm correct in that, but I believe I read that in the paper. But in addition to that, Ken can get you any car that you want, whether it's a Cadillac, an Infiniti, or a truck. I mean, he can get it for you no matter what car it is, and he'll get it to you at the best price. He has the best auto purchasing savings plan going, and with one purchase in mind, that's to help you get into the vehicle you want at the lowest possible price. Experience it for yourself like other hams have, and you can shop your best deal, then call Ken. You will not be dissatisfied. Call Ken, 228-2336. He will call you back with a low price, the best price that you can get for any automobile. Again, that's Ken Nichols, 228-2336. Give him a call, try it out, you won't be dissatisfied. Tony it is now time to talk about the CADXA. And what exactly does that stand for?
The CADXA initials stand for Central Arizona DX Association, Lynn.
Okay, and tell us about that club. I know, how long has it been in existence?
CADXA was formed in the late 1970s by a group of local DXers. Currently has about 90 paid members, and it's grown significantly in the last couple of years. We've been very actively pursuing membership, new members for the last 12 months after we appointed a new membership chairman whose job is to increase the membership, and his activities have made a significant difference.
Okay. Well, is the Central Arizona DX Association in conjunction with any other group, or is it just based locally? I know there's a Southern Arizona DX Association. Does that have something to do with you guys, or how are you?
No, we're not related in any way, shape, or form with any of the other DX clubs in the state. We do, some of the fellows out of the Southern Arizona Club from Tucson are connected to us on a packet cluster, so we do share DX information in that manner. And occasionally, one or two of the guys from Flagstaff will also connect onto the cluster.
Let's simplify this and let's explain DX, because there's people out there who are not hams, and we're talking DX, and they're thinking, I know those are two letters of the alphabet, but tell us more about it than that.
Well, DX in amateur radio terminology typically means distance, and when we talk about working DX as amateurs, generally you're talking about working or talking to amateurs in another country, typically. Now, DX can mean different things depending on what frequency you're working on, but as far as we're concerned, for the purposes of our discussion today, it's basically talking to people in other countries.
Okay. And you guys have, the club has a packet cluster. Now that's an extremely interesting, as different than a regular packet bulletin board. This is a whole different thing. You want to explain what the packet cluster is, the DX packet cluster?
Right. Well, as you know, I was making some notes about this. I'm not the guru of packet cluster, but in a nutshell, packet cluster is a 2-meter computer-controlled communication system utilizing software which was developed by Dick Newell, AK1A. And its purpose is, as far as we're concerned, is a dissemination of information primarily of interest to DXers. For example, anyone that's connected to the cluster will have access to what we call spots, where another amateur who happens to contact a station in another country, who typically is rare, will put out the spot on the cluster, and everyone connected will find that that frequency at which that station is operating on, and can go to that particular frequency and try to contact that station. That's not a very good explanation, but
well,
it's not the simplest thing in the world to explain. I wish our guru, N7US, Jim McDonald, were here to do it. He could do a better job. The packet cluster also has a significant database, which includes large amounts of information concerning QSL routes, beam headings, distances from our location to other parts of the world, propagation forecast, and so forth. And incidentally, our local node is at N7US on 145.93 simplex. It's open to all. It is not a closed system. Anyone that has packet capability can connect to our local system.
Well, I notice, most of the other clubs in town, all the local clubs, they're basically general interest clubs. Your club is more, it's definitely geared towards just DX. And the purpose of this, you have some guys in there I know that have talked to almost all the countries in the world. In fact, I have a question for you guys out there. I want to know, and you will win a Sun Drop t-shirt and cap. the first correct answer, calling 241-1510 or 1-800-293-KFNN with the correct answer, will win a Sundrop t-shirt and a Sundrop cap. Tell me how many countries are involved in the DXCC rating? How many countries are involved, DXCC? And the first one with the correct answer will win the prize. Now let's explain what DXCC is. Tony?
Okay,
or Frank, you can jump in.
Let's let Frank tell us about DXCC.
Yeah, I suppose it might be more interesting to a new ham such as myself, but the way I understand DXCC is a system that the ARRL has set up and more or less monitored to encourage the contacting of foreign hams in various foreign countries, and in so doing, there is the after task or the art of acquiring QSL cards from these various foreign amateurs, and upon successfully acquiring 100 of such cards, then they may be submitted to the ARRL for the award, the DX Century Club Award, as it's called. And I'm told that the turnaround time for this currently is running in excess of 4 months. There's quite a backlog of applications at the ARRL. And upon successful achievement and the crediting of one's cards, the ARRL then sends you back a nice certificate, a cute little pin to where I get name tags at all the ham meetings and the SWAT meets, et cetera, et cetera. And I think maybe Tony could explain a little further some of the other awards that can come afterwards, some of the honor rolls and the DX, the different band DXCCs that are available.
Okay.
I'm not. The ARRL will also issue Century Club Awards for working, communicating or working, as we call it, 100 countries on different frequencies, like 80 meters, 40 meters, 10 meters, etc. In addition to the basic DX Century Club Award. Once the basic DXCC is obtained, you can get endorsements by submitting additional cards in the future, and at some point you can attain what we call honor roll status by communicating or getting confirmation from I think at the moment it's 317 countries to be on the honor roll. So I guess that would be about as far as we might want to go with that particular.
Yes, Frank.
I'd like to add one thing to sort of explode the myth, as it were, and that is that the hams out there, so to speak, have had this idea that one had to be a DXCC recipient in order to be a member of the Central Arizona DX Association, and that has never been the case. Mm-hmm. And I've talked to a lot of hams in the valley that, gee, we'd like to join CADXA, but you've got to have your DXCC, and that's simply not the case. And what had been the case was that there was a different area of membership for those who had not achieved DXCC, but that even no longer exists. So non-DXCC recipients, those who have even a casual interest in DXCC, are welcome to join Central Arizona DX Association, but that's not a requirement for membership. And I would add that we have a very, very lively and active membership chairman for our group, Dr. Warren Hill, KF7AY, and I'd like to give his phone number out, 981-6111. That's, again, 981-6111, and I would urge people who have just the slightest interest in this area to give Warren a call, and he's got some very interesting things to add to all this.
Well, it seems nobody knows the answer, because no one has called in, as to the total current countries as of March 1st, 1991, including the 3D Conway Reef, T-33 Banaba Island, and a few others. So if no one has the answer, in another couple of minutes we'll give the answer out. That's how many countries are listed currently as DXCC countries. Again, the number is 241-1510. Okay, let's talk about de-expeditions. That's a term that we use as amateurs for going, well, you want to describe it? Go ahead, Frank.
Let me take a shot at this. I'm glad you said the word correctly. I got kind of kick out of one of the 2-meter nets. They were referring to it as a DX position.
Oh.
And it's the expedition, and this is very simply a group of hams will get together and typically select a very rare DX location somewhere in the world and arrange with the authorities of that country for licenses and arrange for operators to come. And all the equipment must be transported to whether it's an island or a reef or a rare corner of the Soviet Union, whatever it might be, and simply go on the air, I would say on the average maybe a few days to a week or two, or so on, depending on the level of interest or the pileups that will ensue. And these guys will camp out, rough it, whatever it takes to stay on the air with generators and beams and towers and rigs, linears, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. CW equipment, logs, and nowadays laptop computers to keep your logs and so on. And one recent example that you mentioned was the Penguin Island, which did not receive the XCC status according to UST. And that is the expedition, and we've got a lot of hams in the valley who have been to some great places.
What would be some of the most remote, strange, out of the way places that we have gone, that local hams have gone?
I'm going to let Tony answer that, but I would say I think the most rare of them all would be K5VT. Dr. Vince Thompson a couple of years ago visited Bangladesh, and he succeeded where others since him have failed to succeed in terms of getting licensing permission from the government of Bangladesh. But I'd like Tony to discuss some of the countries that hams in the valley have been to on such expeditions.
Well, there's a number of us that are active in terms of going to different locations to operate. Vince, K5VT, again, is probably historically has been the most active. Being a doctor, his assignments have taken him to some pretty exotic places. Mike Fulcher, KC7V, also did a substantial amount of traveling in the Pacific Ocean area and Southeast Asia, operated from many of the Pacific Islands, Macau, etc. Frank and I and Vince and Mike went to a little piece of rock in the Baltic Sea last summer.
Piece of rock.
Basically what it is, a couple 100 meters long by 50 meters wide, a place called Market Reef. It qualifies for DXCC country status by being separated. It's between Sweden and Finland, and it's separated from Finland by the Åland Islands, which qualifies it for separate DXCC country status. Vince and Mike and Frank and I were there for, I believe, 4 days last summer, and along with some other Finnish operators, and we had about 20,000 contacts in that short period of time.
I have a picture here of a QSL card, and it shows a lighthouse and not very much more. So was there anything else on the island?
That's exactly what all there is. It's a lighthouse island. The lighthouse is maintained by the Finnish government, and it's not the place you might want to be in the wintertime. It's very, very difficult to get to, and the weather, as you might expect, being that far north in the middle of the ocean, it can be quite hazardous to be on that piece of rock in the wintertime.
Okay, let's take a call here. Nick?
Yeah, good afternoon.
Good afternoon. Welcome to Ham Radio and More. Did you have the answer?
I hope so.
Okay, go ahead. We're listening.
My best guess is 322.
That's a pretty good guess, Nick. You were looking at something.
No, as a matter of fact, I was having lunch when you asked the question, and that's why I didn't call earlier.
Okay. Well, now have you gone on any? Are you a member of the DX club?
I'm a member of the DX Club. I really never gone on much in the way of DX expeditions. I went to Mexico once for a contest about 20 years ago.
What's next call?
Yeah, I didn't get the call. What is your call, Nick?
W7ZMD.
Oh, okay. I didn't recognize your voice, Nick. I recognize the name, but not the call. Okay, well, if you'll sit on hold there for a minute, Nick. Do you have any questions of Tony or Frank? You know, something you can stump them with?
No, this isn't Stump by shares at this point.
Okay, well, hold on, Nick, and we'll get your address and phone number. You're going to win a, let's see, a Sundrop T-shirt and a Sundrop cap. And Sundrop is absolutely, positively a fun character. I have a letter here from the office of the governor of the state of Arizona that says that Arizona Sundrop, the most recent proclaimed ambassador of goodwill for the state of Arizona. As it states in the governor's proclamation, the state enjoys more days of sunshine than any other state in the nation, making the sun one of our most important tourist attractions. The Sundrop promotes full enjoyment of all facets of activities in the state of Arizona. And it's the new ambassador of goodwill for Arizona. So congratulations, Nick, and I hope you wear your Sundrop T-shirt proudly and cap.
Thank you. Len, can I ask a question?
Yes.
Does anybody know who the governor of Arizona was several years ago who was an amateur radio operator?
I don't. Neither. They're both shaking their heads also. Should we guess Bruce Babbitt?
No.
No.
Raul Castro.
No.
Okay.
It was several years ago. Leave it to your listening audience.
Okay. If someone knows that, let's see. What are you going to give away, Nick?
He'll give him a straight
Nick's
key.
going to give a straight key, an antique straight key.
They got me.
Okay. Which antique straight key are you giving away this time, Nick?
McElroy.
Nick's not answering. Okay, Nick, thank you for calling. Hold on, and let's get your address. So hold on a second, okay? And Ray will take the information.
Okay, Len.
Thanks for calling, Nick. And I hope we get the answer also, because, otherwise we're going to be here in suspense.
I might just make another comment regarding our club, Len. We have a voice repeater in addition to the packet cluster. The call sign is K5VT, and frequency is 147.32, 147.9232, so anyone can check in there. We have some announcements that will also be put out in terms of DX information on the voice repeater from time to time. Everyone is welcome.
Very fine. One Stop Communications at 1201 North 54th Avenue, suite number 117. Their phone number is 269-2799. 1201 North 54th Avenue, suite 117. The phone number is 269-2799. Jim Picard, KG7BG, a licensed ham, a licensed technician, operates that store. They do sales, service, installation, warranty work for Standard, Uniden, Dynascan, and Maxon. Definitely sell Citizens Band radio equipments and antennas, etc. in stock. They also have cellular phones, all types of business band radios. They have scanners in stock, vector radar detectors, Uniden scanners in stock. Full installation is definitely available, and Jim will be more than happy to work on your amateur radio equipment. He's done so in the past. We had a gentleman on a ham last week who talked about his Kenwood 440. Jim does excellent work. The gentleman last week will be more than happy to tell you that he does. He's very clean and meticulous. Jim is extremely knowledgeable. And again, if you have any questions or need any service whatsoever, or need to purchase anything, give One Stop Communications Jim Pickard a call at 269-2799. His call again is KG7BG at 1201 North 54th Avenue, and the phone number 269-2799. They're open from 7 in the morning to 7 in the evening, Monday through Friday. I believe they're open on Saturdays also. One Stop Communications, and he's anxious to get your information to help you. And if you give him a call and mention ham radio and more, he will give you $10 off any service work that you have him perform. Again, $10 off any service that you have, need to perform. So give Jim a call, 269-2799. Okay. Nick, what is this that you want to talk to me about Armed Forces Day?
On May 18th, there's an activity called, Armed Forces Day is something that's a national thing, but there's an amateur radio phase of it that some people are not aware of it. It's kind of an interesting thing. I'll just read the blurb about a QST very briefly here. This year marks the 42nd anniversary of communications tests between the amateur radio community and the military communications system. Special commemorative QSL cards will be issued to amateurs achieving a verified two-way radio contact with any participating military radio station. And there's also a receiving test they can participate in, and they'll receive a special award from the Secretary of Defense. The mode is actually what's called a crossband radio contact. The amateur radios operate in the amateur band and talk with military stations operating on the military frequency. And there are about a dozen, maybe 20 different stations listed. Some of the ones that are listed are AAE, Fort Sam Houston, Texas, AAH, Fort Lewis, Washington, AIR, Washington, D.C., NAM, Norfolk, Georgia, NAV, Chatham, Maryland, MPG, Stockton, California, NPL, San Diego, NMH, Alexandria, Virginia, WAR, Fort Detrick, Maryland, and NAV-8, which is in Honolulu, Hawaii.
Okay.
The information, if people would get QST, is on page 95 of the current May 91 QST.
Can I get you to give us the answer to the governor question, since no one, we have an answer. You gave Ray the answer? Well, would you give, I don't have the answer, and no one's called with it, so we're all in suspense here, Nick.
You've got the answer.
Okay.
And if you don't get it by the end, you can give it the last couple minutes.
Okay. Thank you for calling, Nick. Thank you about Armed Forces Day.
Okay.
Okay. Bye-bye. Jim, KF5LI, welcome to Ham Radio and More.
Hi, Ken. How are you today? I have a couple of questions for your DX people there.
Okay.
The first one is in regards to the number of DX countries. I'm wondering how the number 322 was arrived at, because I've always thought there were 324 as of this month.
Well, the way we arrived at it was by reading a bulletin that N7US put out for our club. The total current countries at 3191 is 322, including 3D Conway Reef, T33 Banab Islands, ZS9 Walvis Bay, and the new 70 country, minus the old 704W on Yankee 2.
Okay. I've always went by QST, which indicates there's 324, and I'm just wondering, and that's fine. I have no question. My other question concerns how to get QSL cards from DX countries. There seems to be various ways to do it, whether you send IRCs, whether you send dollars. Does it take $1? Does it take $2? Does it take one IRC or two IRCs? Could you explain that a bit so that we can understand that?
Well, I'll tell you one thing. It takes a lot of persistence, which I don't have. And I, for one, do not send a lot of QSL cards, so I'm going to let Frank tell you how to get those cards.
Okay, I'll ask Tony to add to this as thoughts come up. There are various ways. You are correct in IRCs and dollars, and it's usually one or the other. The easiest way is to hope that the DX edition that you worked or the rare station you worked would have hopefully a U.S. QSL manager, of course, then you send an SASE with complete postage to the American QSL manager, and in those cases, your card will come back rather quickly. Sending cards to the foreign hams is another question. There's always the debate whether it's appropriate to send green stamps or U.S. dollars. And along that line, in areas where it is appropriate, it's now getting to be the case that the single green stamp is no longer enough, even to pay the postage. And we, for example, are learning that for the hams in West Germany, many of whom are QSL managers for rare expeditions, it's going to take at least $1.50 U.S. due to the sinking value of our dollar for them to send a regular piece of airmail to the United States. So keep that one in mind. IRCs, the magic number typically is 2. I would say on average plan to send at least 2 IRCs, and always, in any case, send a self-addressed envelope containing the IRC or your green stamp. Now, you must be aware that some of the countries in the world, it may be illegal for that ham to receive Western foreign currency, such as the United States dollar. So you really need to kind of be on top of that. It used to be that the Soviet hams could not legally receive Western currency. Now that has been changed, of course, and you could send $1 or $2, but you might be aware that there have been many cases where that dollar suddenly disappeared by the time it reached its destination, leaving the Soviet ham the choice only to return the card through the mechanism of the bureau. So those are the ways of getting your QSL information. Almost every de-expedition that comes along is going to be announced before it takes off. And it'll be announced in such bulletins as the DX Bulletin published by BP2ML out of Fulton, California, the QRZ DX Bulletin from Texas, there's the Long Island DX Bulletin, etc. And all of these will invariably have some QSL information. Where do you send the QSL to? And in most cases, you'll find that the 2 IRCs or I'm recommending 2 U.S. dollars will get you a QSL back. Now maybe, Tony, if you might want to add to that.
Could I ask another question?
Sure.
The one IRC concept, which says that can be exchanged for postage required for surface mail in any country in the world, is that valid, or is it now it should read 2 IRCs in order to get return mail?
Okay, my comment on that would be if you sent 1 IRC, then you would expect a slow return. Then, in fact, it would come most typically by sea mail or surface mail. 2 IRCs would generally get you a faster turnaround via airmail. And when you buy your IRCs at the post office, one interesting point of fact is I believe the current rate on those is 95 cents. If you turn around seconds later and sold it back to the clerk that sold it to you, you get 65 cents in return. So there is a diminishing value of IRCs. So oftentimes they're simply traded throughout the QSL network.
Okay, well, thank you very much, and good program, Ken.
Okay, thank you, and thank you for calling, Jim.
Okay, goodbye.
Bye-bye. Walt, N7IZM. How you doing, Walt?
Hi, Len. How you doing?
Welcome to the show.
I want to keep in days at the Southwest Division Convention this fall, October 11th, 12th, and 13th, we're going to have a DX program, hopefully of a recent nature, but we will have a DX program on the program list.
And that's on what days? Those are, again?
October 11th, 12th, and 13th. We'll have the program probably on Saturday, which is...
And that's at the Safari Resort?
That.
Okay. If people want more information on that, what would you suggest that they call?
Right now, since I don't have the other information in front of me, they can contact me at 947-03-8.
03 what?
03-8. Leave me a message. We will get back.
Okay. That third number is getting blurted somehow. It's 947-03...
38.
38, okay. Okay, Walt. Well, thank you very much for calling in.
Okay,
Okay, take care.
7-3.
7-3. Bye-bye.
Yeah, along those same lines, Len, at CADXA will have a hospitality suite at the Southwestern Convention, and we will have an operational packet cluster system in the suite, so be an opportunity for anyone that's interested to see the system functioning to drop by and visit with us, talk to some of the members, etc. And we'll also have this the cluster functioning, I believe, at Fort Tuthill.
Okay. If anybody needs a plumber out there, you know, you always need one when you least expect it. The number 841-6624, Jim Vinson. 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Jim Vinson will be there. 841-6624. He's neat, he's clean, he's inexpensive, which is, you know, the key. It's called The Rooter Company, T-H-E-E, The Rooter Company. Jim Vinson, 841-6624. You can count on him as a plumber, and no job is too small and no job is too big. I mean, he'll put in sewer lines or whatever, and he'll also clean out your drain. So if you need a plumber, 841-6624, Jim Vinson. I want to change a topic for a moment. Both of you gentlemen were last week at the largest, in fact, it's not even a ham fest, they call it a hamvention in Dayton, Ohio last week. And I'd like to get some insight. I was told there were about 33,000 people there, and there were tons of exhibits, etc. And give me your thoughts on the hamvention.
Well, yes, Frank and I, along with a few of the other local fellows, were at Dayton. It's something that I believe every amateur or anyone that has any interest in amateur radio should attend at least once. 33,000 hams in one place is a real experience, and of course we have hams there from all over the world and people you've talked to on the air. It's just an event that I wouldn't miss. I think I've been there 6 or 7 years running now. Literally every manufacturer, distributor, etc. has a display there, so you can see the newest in ham radio equipment. And the flea market, the swap meet is about 10 acres of nothing but amateur radio and computer equipment. It's quite interesting. Frank, this was Frank's first time, so I'll see what he has, what kind of comments he might have.
Yeah, well, that was my first time, and it's kind of like what I always used to say about the Grand Canyon, that every person that lives on the face of the earth, regardless of what country, should visit the Grand Canyon. And I would say that every ham needs to visit Dayton. It's the Grand Canyon of amateur radio, definitely.
Did either of you buy anything in the swap meet?
No.
What good are you?
No, I'm lying.
Oh, you did?
Well, I had a meager year. I think I only spent $500 at the swap meet this year. I had to have an extra suitcase to get it home as usual.
For those of you out there who don't know, a ham fest is a swap meet of amateur radio equipment, and usually you can buy things very inexpensively.
And for the antique buffs out there, there's plenty to buy. I had the same problem with Tony, how to get the stuff home. We're taking an airplane.
Okay, Frank, I'd like you to just go in for a few minutes, and not that long actually, but to explain to us the Radio Team Finland event that took place last October. I know we saw a movie at the DX Club meeting this last Thursday. I'll get that right yet. On Thursday, and it was a fantastic movie. I guess it was sponsored by the ACE Corporation and some others, with Jack Reed doing the photography, which was absolutely mind-boggling. And Frank, can you give us a little more insight into what transpired? I know it was the largest DXpedition in history, a contest DXpedition in history.
Exactly. This operation had its beginning several years ago in the country of Andorra, where a small group of Finns, OH guys, had gone to carry on DX traffic, and later the Andorrans forbade foreign operators from getting permits. And a gentleman from CQ magazine suggested to these guys that they should try out the country of Curacao. And he had no idea what he was suggesting, because as it turned out, the Finns, about 100 DXers from Finland, put together what, as you said, was the largest DXpedition contest operation in the history of amateur radio. And these guys transported almost 20 towers. The average height was 180 feet. To the country of Curacao, took 3 containers of aluminum, all manufactured by 086RM Toko Kappa Systems. His handwork, incredible array of monobanders, 80 meters, every band you can think of. And this took place last fall in the CQWW CW phone contest. They did win the CW contest, and we were fortunate to have a couple of the guys, the team leaders from Radio Team Finland, here in the Valley to premiere the video, which is entitled The Spirit of Victory, produced by none other than our own member, WA7LMW, Jack Reed, who also belongs to the West Valley Group, I should say. And Jack was hired by Yaesu Corporation and other sponsors to go down and film this, and I can tell you the film is a beautiful master-crafted
Oh, I can
video
vouch for that.
artwork,
It was fantastic.
Yeah, and this film will eventually be available and shown to wider audiences throughout the ham community worldwide.
Okay, I need to get this out. Antennas West in Provo, Utah, at 1-800-926-7373, 1-800-926-7373. Now, I know he had a booth at the Sierra Vista Ham Fest that went on yesterday and today, I believe. Jim Stevens, KK7C. And at Antennas West, they manufacture many, many, many different products. He'll be a guest on the show in a couple of weeks. And they, of course, manufacture the Tiger's Tail, which you all are familiar with now, that fits on your 2-meter HT and increases your output and receive by about a third to 40%. And if you mention ham radio and more when you call 1-800-926-7373, he'll send it out to you for $5 total, which is very inexpensive. But he's running another special for all of you out there that are listening, and those are QSL cards, and that fits right in with the DX conversation we've been having. If you order at least 100 QSL cards, you'll get 100 more free. And he has quick turnaround. He actually has available next day service, 2-day service, and 3-day service if you want. But if you mention ham radio and more, and you call 1-800-926-7373 for a QSL card, you'll get 100 QSL cards free. And that's a pretty good deal. So give Jim a call. That's 1-800-926-7373. Tony, when's the next meeting of the CADXA Club?
Next meeting is the first Thursday of June at the Scottsdale Salt River Project Employees Recreation Association Club facility on Continental Drive in Tempe. We have brochures at HRO that anyone can pick up. It'll have a map and phone numbers, etc. Everybody's welcome.
And I want to thank Tony and I want to thank Frank for being a guest. Howard Pyle was the governor, who was also an amateur radio operator. I want to thank One Stop Communications, Wallpaper World, and Antennas West. Next week we'll have a licensed technician on the air to answer all your technical questions. And by all means, again, send in any questions to me or letters or QSL cards to KB7LPW, KFNN, 4800 North Central, Phoenix, Arizona, 85012. And 73s till next week, and thank you all for listening.